So at the beginning of March, I noticed that they were doing a Graph API hackathon for .NET.
Sorry, Stephan. I do apologize. I have a message from Waldek. He wants to say a word before we actually start the demo for you. Waldek, you need to be more specific on this request. Sorry for that.
It took a pigeon to
rewind.
to arrive a bit, right?
Now, Waldek is here to do a quick recap on what the hackathon was all about, and then we'll move to one of the winners within the hackathon. Waldek, take it away.
Exactly. Thanks. So, as Stephan already said, at the beginning of March, we ran a virtual hackathon for Microsoft Graph and .NET. And the idea was to let people experience what they can do with Microsoft Graph and .NET. And we've seen so many cool hacks people do, and few of us really picked our attention. And while the hack that you will see today didn't quite win, it was really cool because on March 1, the Graph team did a release of a brand new SDK. And what the person did, our guest here today, they improved the SDK. So without further ado, let's see how that SDK was improved even better to let developers across the world achieve even more with the Microsoft Graph. Stephan, over to you.
Thanks, Waldek, for your introduction. So there was a hackathon, and we've been a long time member of the batch endpoint. We've been using it even before it was supported in any SDK. It's been supported in the SDK for some time now. And I saw the hackathon and I thought, yeah, maybe I should try it out to see if current SDK would solve our needs. But before we were using our own client to do the batching and to get higher throughput. And there were some things missing. So I decided, yeah, why not extend the SDK so everybody else can start using the new batching endpoint and to be even more efficient in their code. The new Graph SDK is also not yet supported by the templates that you get if you do a .NET new WebAssembly. So I also extended or I fixed the templates so you can get along with Graph v5 in Blazor WebAssembly. I made a small demo in the browser. This is just a WebAssembly app that talks directly to the Graph API, so there's no server around. It's hosted on Azure Static Web Apps. And I just want to show you how things can be speed up if you use the batching instead of the normal endpoints. So I have a to-do part. Here you can see my to-do list. It's empty. I made a special list just for this. You can try this out yourself. Everybody can log in. It's configured as multi-tenant, so feel free to try it out. There's nothing fishy going on. You can check the source. It's in the chat. And I'm going to show you what it does. I already created the list, so I'm going to load the ID. We need that later, but we only need to load it once. Let's see, I can open the developer tab. I'm going to make it bigger in a little bit. But first, I'm going to start by adding 10 random tasks to my to-do list. Hopefully, Graph works. And I can see it added 10 items and it took roughly 2 seconds. If I check the to-do list, you can see those items. They are just created with the UTC timestamp of the moment. And it takes 1.99 seconds. So let's call it 2 seconds to add those items to the API. And if I open this, you can see it actually does several tasks where it does a call to the API and then adds the task. But it's 10 items, so 10 calls. Now I'm going to delete those. It fetches the list and then deletes them in 1.5 seconds. They're empty in the list. And if I show the results, you can see that it does 10 delete requests and 10 option requests. Those are mandatory. We cannot get rid of them. So 2 seconds for adding 10 items, 1.5 seconds for deleting those 10 items. And you can see it's empty right now. Now I'm going to do the same with the with batching. So this way you can still see the text below, and adding 10 items only took me 0.6 seconds. If I make the network part a little bit bigger, you should see that it's doing several batch requests, and within a batch request there are 4 tasks created at the same time. There's currently a limit that you can only do 4 tasks in a single batch, else it will crash, but that will hopefully get fixed very soon. Yeah, from 2 seconds down to 0.6 seconds. So that's roughly 2.5 times faster, and it's only for 10 items. And it will go up, the speed improvement will go up if you have more items. You can still see them here, nothing fishy, but the order is changed, because before I was adding them sequentially, so the 0 one would be at the bottom, but now I combine 4 requests in a single batch, and the order is undetermined. There's 8, 9, 5, so the order is shaped because of the batch requests. If I now delete those items, it only takes like 0.5 seconds, and that's down from 1.5 seconds. So that's also roughly 3 times faster. This is why I want everybody to use batching, and I also want everybody to use Blazor, because then you don't need a server part to make an application that talks to the Graph API. I shared all the links in the chat before. You can see the code from my Graph Explorer here. If you want, you can see what you need to change on the template for using the Graph v5 API. So this is .NET template, .NET new Blazor WebAssembly, and then you need to change these things: 26 additions, 45 deletions. So it's really small change to get started with the Graph API in .NET Blazor WebAssembly. This was my original idea. The default batching, you could do this, make a batch request, add up to 20 requests, and adding request 21 made it fail. My contribution was the batch request content collection, and that automatically splits up the requests until the max amount of requests you want to combine. And I saw some people from Microsoft already using it. And Waldek, he mentioned this to this other members of his team, and they started to create issues. Hey, did you see this this great hack? Maybe we should integrate this into the Graph SDK. And then things went on from there. I made a pull request for the Graph SDK. It got accepted like within a day. And after that, they created issues to use this same methodology in other SDKs as well. So my code, my idea is going to be used by all you guys. This was the demo that I had on the Graph API. Are there any questions on this part?
Acute questions. How does it deal with 429 errors? That's actually a really good question from Hugo. Let's actually cover that, and then we can close on.
That's a great question. I was also aware of this issue that you could not handle the 429 errors correctly. So I made an additional pull request to allow you to get all the status codes for a single batch, and then you can validate them and retry them yourself if you want to retry all the 429 errors. But this part is not yet automated.
Now, related on that one, Stephan, let's talk about that one a bit. So is it going to work in a kind of a transactional way? So are we going to get 429 in one of the calls in a batch, or is it a one batch, yes or no? Do you know how it's going to handle that?
It's going to handle all the individual requests are counted against the batch.
Correct.
So that's why the batch can only be 20 requests, a single batch. But for the tasks endpoint, there seems to be an issue where you can only do 4 requests. And that was also the reason why I created this additional pull request. So you can set, I want to combine only 4 requests in a single batch request. And then those 4 will succeed. So that's what I needed for the demo. But in all other cases, if you have more, if the batch limit, for instance, in tasks, it's 4, if I combine 6 requests, 4 will succeed and 2 will fail with the 429.
Yeah. So
they are individually counted against the limit.
Correct. So just to be super clear on that, they're basically handled individually. So the batch itself is not a transactional bundle. Every single call within the batch will be sent to the server side, and then they're executed one by one. And for individual execution of those calls, you might get a 429 as well.
Yes, or a 400 or whatever errors you get. And the batch will still succeed. So you cannot check the status codes of the batch because the batch is received correctly. But individual requests might be unsuccessful, and that can be checked with my latest addition to the SDK as well.
Yeah, which is really, really cool. So you're able to double check that, okay, did all of those requests go through properly, or was there any challenges related to any of them? So really, really cool. Awesome improvements, and really shows the power of community as well. So thank you, Stephan, on this one. Brilliant stuff. And thank you for additional questions and
yeah, I see there's one more question from Hugo, and that's what we covered before. It does not automatically retry, but with the latest pull request, you can easily manage retrying failed requests in your batch request by creating a new batch request from the failed batch request with the response codes included.
Yeah. So in the batching, there's no automatic retry, but then the client side, it depends on how the SDK handles that. And Stephan has been now improving still continuously the SDK. So thank you for that one.
Yeah.
So really, really cool. Awesome stuff. Absolutely brilliant stuff.